Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about this week at Bungie for November 21st, 2019. This week at Bungie, basically going to be your news blog posts about Destiny 2 in the past week, current weeks, and the next few weeks of Destiny 2. And of course, my versions of the TWAB are going to be your audible versions, so I'm going to just kind of summarize things while cute animals are on the screen near the beginning of the videos. I'll be explaining my opinion about certain things, what you should understand, and of course, skipping a lot of useless information. And before I get started with this, just want to mention that the next DLC, the next season, is coming up very soon on December 10th. We have about 2.5 weeks before the end of Season of the Undying, so you've got a very short time period to finish the Season of the Undying pin or any of the triumphs tied to it, because all that stuff is going to go out the window when this season ends. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it with the nutshell. For the most part, they talk about the Solar Week coming out, where they're going to be updating and making amends to a lot of these Solar subclasses in the game, refreshing them, all that stuff, as well as a shout out to the Iron Banner, the charity streams that they've been doing, as well as apparently a cookbook for the Destiny style cookbook that's in the groove. I don't know why I just said it was in the groove. It sounded right. I'm gonna roll with it. For the most part, this first section on Solar Shift is basically saying, hey, we've had these Solar subclasses for a long time, even though, in my opinion, they're the most powerful subclasses. They're feeling a bit old and stale. They wanted to refresh them and give certain subclasses that are not used as often a use case for them. A lot of examples would be, for example, the Titan Devastator class with the double-handed hammer. I just never find an instance that I want to use it. And they go in and they fix these. And I think that they've picked a few ones that are good to pick. First off, let's start off with the Hunter, the Gunslinger Wave, the Sharpshooter, the bottom path, the one that you use with Celestial Nighthawk all the time. They wanted to make an opportunity to use it without needing to use Celestial Nighthawk, or just some use cases that you would use that might be better without Celestial Nighthawk. And they've also made some modifications to the 6-shot Way of the Outlaw as well. For the most part, basically what they did was they made the 3-shot have better aim assistance and reliability while aiming down the sights, so it's all gonna be about those long-range shots. And for the 6-shot version, they've shortened the damage fall-off range to make it more of a close-range option. So when you're choosing it, if you like to stay more at range, you might as well go for the 3-shot, and that's my general understanding of how they're differentiating the two. On top of the other changes they've made to a lot of the perks in that particular subclass node. And apparently the Way of the Outlaw, very specifically, is also getting a very new, potent explosive knife procs perk, where it can actually stick to the surface and act like a proximity bomb, which actually sounds like a lot of fun. Overall, let's go ahead and talk about the special perk changes that have happened to the Celestial Nighthawk. No, I've just called it Celestial Nighthawk. I mean the Way of the Sharpshooter. That was legit, that was not a bit. I just called him the Sharpshooter, Celestial Nighthawk. But let's go and talk about the perks. Before we can do that, we have to understand what the perks were like before. If you did not know, I actually have a spreadsheet on all of this. I have an entire spreadsheet page that is dedicated to these supers. This is from the Season of the Opulence, where my recommendations, my notes, and all that stuff, as well as a full listing of all the perks and what they do. So I'll be referring to this over this TWAB. Starting up with the first perk, going to be changed to the melee. It's going to be a high damage throw with a long windup that travels at high speeds, bounces once, and does extra damage to the head. On top of the fact that it automatically recharges the ability if you hit a precision shot, which is what it literally did before, was precision knife kills will recharge your melee ability immediately. On top of the fact that it will one-shot precision shot in PvP, and I honestly, I cannot wait for the montages of people just hucking these knives across the map and just getting one-shot kills. Next up, for Practice Makes Perfect, which used to be where every time you hit a precision hit, reduces the cooldown of your super, which is actually very important, really helped with Celestial Nighthawk supers. They basically made that thing last longer, but give you less energy per second, and they made it so you get 2 stacks per precision hit every time it's there. So what they've changed is they made it last longer, but give you less super energy per second. They've also allowed it so that each precision hit gives you 2 stacks instead of 1 stack per hit. Next up, a new perk called Knock Them Down, where precision final blows increase the weapon stability and ADS speed. Initially starts at 10 seconds, then goes all the way up to 25 seconds through final blows and assists. And casting your super while in this buff with 20 seconds remaining will give you an extra damage. So basically, this is a neutral game option alternative to Celestial Nighthawk, because it does not stack with Celestial Nighthawk. So if you want to not use Celestial Nighthawk for whatever other exotic that you want to use with Sharpshooter, you can now, because you will be able to get extra damage buffs for your super without needing to use Celestial Nighthawk. That being said, I still think Celestial Nighthawk is going to be your superior DPS and damage dump for your hunter. And then lastly, the perk called Line Them Up, which used to be where you got precision hits with Golden Gun, increased its damage and its duration. It is now combined that same thing with Crowd Pleaser, which used to be one of the other perks, which was you can actually get precision damage with Golden Gun, and precision hits with the Golden Gun generate Orbs of Light. Whereas before it used to be 2 separate perks, knock them down, replace Crowd Pleaser, and they both combined into this one perk. Coming up next for the Titans, we have the Sunbreaker Code of the Devastator Middle Tree. In general, I've never regarded this one with any respect, because it always seemed like throwing a hammer and having Hammer Strike was always more important than using a two-handed hammer, and they have made some interesting buffs that might make me turn over and try it again. Before we get into it, I just want to mention very quickly what is actually in this subclass. First of all, it has a throwing hammer. You can actually throw it, you can actually go and pick it up wherever it falls, fully restoring that hammer. It also has a perk called Roaring Flames, or Solar Ability Kills, and retrieving your hammer increase the damage multiplier. Basically, they've made a lot of buffs to the throwing hammer, Roaring Flames, and the super itself. First of all, Roaring Flame buff lasts 25% longer. On top of that, they've also increased the damage bonus to that perk from 10% to 25% per stack in PvP, and increased the duration from 15 to 20 seconds. Next up, for the throwing hammer, they've made it so that the base damage has been increased from 100 to 120, and increased the hammer pickup radius from 2 meters to 3.5 meters. And then finally, they made a big buff to the super itself. The Burning Maul has increased from 21 seconds to 28 seconds, and currently I already think that it lasts way too long as it is, so now it lasts even longer. They've also reduced the light attack energy cost from 5% to 3%, but increased the cost of the heavy from 6% to 8%. And lastly, they've also increased the height of the heavy slam explosion, make it so it's more useful against airborne enemies, because before it used to be always in the air, I gotta fly and use a light attack, and it's really weird. And then finally, let's talk about the Warlock Dawnblade Attunement of Sky, which is the top path, all about being in the air and getting benefits while being in the air. First and foremost, there has been actually a nerf to the totality of Daybreak. They're making it not as fast as it was before. Apparently, Burst Glide accelerated the players in Daybreak, where you could basically haul ass across the entire map in like 2 or 3 Burst Glides, which was pretty fun, I might add. Basically, they wanted to make Attunement of the Sky like that, and the other ones a little less like that. So Attunement of Sky with Icarus Dash, which I'll talk about a little bit, is still as fast as it is now, but the other Daybreak super will not be as fast. That's going to be the Attunement of Fire. And that's basically what they say right here. Icarus Dash, while in Daybreak, increases your speed to recapture that Burst Glide gameplay that we currently have. Moving on, there's been a lot of changes and reworks to the regular parts of the class, the subclass node perks. First of all, the melee has been completely changed from the Swift Strike, giving you better reload and movement speed, to instead just sending out projectiles with your melee, which is really cool. I've been looking forward to more melee projectiles ever since the hunters got the smoke bomb. On top of that, Heat Rises has changed. It used to be that in the middle of the air, you get melee and grenade energy for mid-air kills. Now instead, you consume your grenade, very similar to Devour, to extend the glide time and dramatically reduce the in-air accuracy penalties for this weapon, on top of the fact that Heat Rises is going to be important to some of the other perks. First of all, Winged Sun, which was reworked as well. Fire weapons use your melee and your grenade while gliding, and airborne final blows grant you melee energy and extend the duration of Heat Rises. So you still get the melee energy while in the air, so you can still use Sun Bracers because you just need the melee energy to get infinite grenades. And then lastly, the Icarus Dash, which has been reworked, basically double tap crouch while in mid-air to give you like a mid-air dodge, which is really cool, but you don't use it enough, it has to be during your super. And like I said before, dodging in Daybreak accelerates the player farther and costs less super energy while under the effects of Heat Rises. So this is all about being, in Heat Rises, using mid-air stuff to get benefits for a lot of other parts. However, I feel like they could have gone a little bit farther with it, because it still doesn't really encourage me to fly through the air, because it's still a very vulnerable place to be. On top of that, they've also, as an added note, buffed Wing of Sacred Dawn, which used to be where if you aim down sights in the air with, Daybreak on, you would hover there, which was, again, not a benefit. You're just, more easy to shoot out of the air, but you get a 15% damage resistance while the buff from that exotic is active. So 15% damage bonus for being in the air is something pretty good when it compares to a lot of other things. Imagine you have 15% damage resistance floating through the air, getting all these other bonuses. This seems like a subclass now. But again, it is highly dependent on, you know, the exotic, which is the exact opposite of what they wanted to do with the Celestial Nighthawk. Good dependency with the way of the Sharpshooter, but hey man, you win some, you lose some. And that's pretty much it for these subclass changes. These should come next week or the week after that. It's my assumption. They didn't say when, but it will be during a week that they label Solar Week. They've done it with Arc Week and Void Week before. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the final Iron Banner of Season 8, Season of the Undying. We'll be starting next Tuesday on November 22nd, not 22nd, 26th. And will be ending on December 3rd, which is 1 week before the end of the season. So if you want to go and get this cool-ass white armor version, do the quests for all of your characters, whatever, it's going to be the last opportunity to do so, on top of the fact that, again, it's pinnacle gear. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the charity event. If you did not know, they raised a lot of money for charity, $1.7 million for charity in their Bungie Foundation iPads for Kids and the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Apparently there was 40,000 donors, 5,500 streamers over across 104 countries. $1.7 million, that's not bad for 3 weeks of work. Which is, honestly, it was really cool to see a lot of the different streamers get up and do a bunch of challenges. I saw Dado in some makeup, I saw Blessius shave his head, and lots of fun stuff going on in some streams, so you guys gotta check out some of those replays. Next up, they talk about the new Grimoire Anthology book, basically the lore book of Destiny 2. They have an Anthology version 3 that you can get that will be coming in late 2020, which is over a year from now. There's also a cookbook, apparently a Destiny-inspired cookbook that has literally the Sunshot here that's also coming up soon. They don't say when. What's got me interested is the Destiny part, not as much the food part, but I gotta know how they make the Destiny into food. It's weird. Imagine there's not a lot of Radiolarian culture on hand in Earth. And that's pretty much it for the main section of the video. Next up, talk about Dr. Bungie, the blue section at the top, talking about the updates and known issues, as well as things that they're working on. First of all, if you did not know, the Stadia Destiny 2 can be played on Stadia, which is their like in-internet browser gaming platform that I think Google's been working on for a while, that they want to play games basically in an internet browser, and that's a new form of cloud technology. Apparently, they released it a couple weeks ago, or this week, I guess, and it's live. Apparently, there's some issues with cross-save and what licenses you have for Forsaken or whatever. This can all be found on these pages in case you're interested. They also want to mention they've solved a lot of issues with the PC migration and Forsaken licenses. If you still have problems, follow these links, go to their support pages to see what's going on. And then finally, Destiny 2 known issues. Apparently, Mida Multi-Tool Catalyst is not dropping for people who have a competitive Crucible rank above Legend or at Legend. If you want to avoid this, just play solo or with friends who are not in the same clan, because apparently it's affected by the Catalyst Seeker of the clan rank bonus. Next up for issues, there's an issue with the Black Armory keys and deleted mysterious box quests of whatever. It has literally almost been an entire year since Black Armory came out, and this is honestly a problem that should not be continuing. And then lastly, apparently some players are experiencing some issues with Festival of the Lost items in their Postmaster being like blank symbols, and they're trying to fix that. And that's pretty much it. Moving on to the movies of the week, I highly recommend you checking this out. It's literally a minute-long video of this dude like doing this 1-2 punch tractor cannon punch combo and basically 7 punching the Pit of Heresy's Zolmok boss, which is very impressive, and it's extremely impressive, and I highly recommend you take a look. But that's pretty much it. That's the end of this week of Bungie. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, any concerns, any recommendations, any cute animal recommendations for the next video. Yeah, my name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.